Today, we're talking about why our personal image matters. Or you can ask yourself, does it still matter? Should it matter? The answer to all these questions is absolutely yes. So today I want to give you and talk about why it matters and why it's important, and give you a few tips and tricks that you can use to help you when you're building and creating an image that will allow you to stand out and provide your uniqueness. But first, let's talk about what is personal image. So from the dictionary, personal image is how people perceive you at a glance. It includes the way you dress, the way you look, and the way you behave, and also the way that you communicate. That is another way of saying what is called executive presence. And with executive presence, all of this formulates how people are going to perceive you in less than 7 seconds. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but we have to remember first impressions are important, especially if you're in corporate, if you're an entrepreneur. We only have, with everybody with short time spans and everybody's being busy, they will look at you that quick and say, you know what, I want to work with this person. No, this person, okay, we'll interview this person I don't like for the job. That is what you have. But how you dress is actually one of the easiest ways to help with presenting a strong image. Now, here's the thing that I even found fascinating. Did you know that your image is number 2 to your professional skills and abilities? Those will always be number 1, because of course we have to know what we're doing, and no matter what it is we do, right? But how you look, they do take it into consideration. Think about it this way. You're up for a job, you have 2 people, 2 individuals who have the same credentials, same work ethic, everything's the same across the board. They have to decide which person they are going to hire for the role. Guess what they're going to use? They're going to think about in what your image represents, and do you look as if you were qualified for the role? Now, I know sometimes that isn't always the right thing or things to do, but hey, I don't make the rules. However, we are here to figure out how we can use it. And one of the things I think a lot of us either underestimate, have never considered or thought, that when used correctly, your image and style is literally a powerful tool that we underutilize, including myself. I underutilize it as well. But if we utilize it correctly, it will position us in a place where people will always think and look at us and say, you know what? She knows what she's doing. Because out of all the things in the world, how we look is the one thing that we can always control, and we have control over. We don't have control over the weather. We don't have control over the government. We don't have control over a lot of things. But the one thing that we do have control over is how we look. And because we control that, we get to dictate how people see us. So you always want to keep in mind with personal image, and this is why it matters, because first impressions are everything. So always keep that in mind. You also want to think about how your uniqueness and how your style and image can actually make you stand out. You in a sea of people these days, or even back when I was working in corporate and we had to wear the stuffy same blue, brown, black, gray suits, the same 4 or 5 colors all the time. But now in today's environment where things are becoming a little relaxed, even though there are still dress codes in place, you can still shine through with your unique style, no matter what it is. And you have to figure out and determine what exactly is your unique style. So here are a few things that I want you to keep in mind when you're trying to put everything together and think about. So the first one, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Be mindful of first impressions. It takes less than 7 seconds for people to make a decision about you. Remember, your style speaks before and for you. Always remember that. So when you're coming in, Do you look shy and timid, or do you look confident and powerful? How you dress helps you determine that. And if they see you as shy and timid, which is something I have to learn to get over as well, is that you don't allow yourself to shine. And it's sort of like a way of you hiding yourself because you don't necessarily want to be noticed. But hey, if you want that job, if you want that speaking engagement, if you want that next gig, guess what? You have to show up powerful and confident. And sometimes I like to consider what we wear our armor. So it gives us always that extra bit of oomph and courage that we always need. We also want to look at the industry conventions. So depending on the industry that you work in, are you in finance? Are you in tech? Are you in the healthcare industry? You want to look at where you work, because where you work, you probably have a dress code, and we don't want to break the dress code, but we can kind of use it to our advantage. So how somebody looks in tech is going to be completely different than somebody that looks in finance and on Wall Street, right? So you want to take that into consideration when building your style. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you have a little bit more flavor, but I do want to put this caveat in for you. We always thought, oh, you know what? As an entrepreneur, I don't have to dress as much. I don't have to do X, Y, and Z. I'm also sorry to tell you, depending on what industry you're on, now you don't have to be like in a stuffy suit or anything like that, but this also still applies to you as well. What industry are you in? Are you a creative? That's going to look completely different possibly than someone that's a business coach or a style coach such as myself. All of the industries, no matter if they're in regular 9-to-5s or if they're in entrepreneurship, all industries are going to be different. So you want to kind of take that and keep that in mind, but also at the same time, you want to be able to add your own unique flair to that in the industry conventions. So you want to be sure of that. Next, your workplace image. Think about how you are currently perceived in the workplace. And I'll use what I used earlier. Are you shy and timid, or are you confident and proud? How are you showing up? You want to be able to figure that out. And once you figure that out, now you can find ways to kind of allow you to break free. I don't want you to think that you have to do this at a very fast pace and do this all overnight. No, this is going to take time. And if you are quiet, shy, and timid and stand in the background a lot, or even if you stand in the front, but they can still overlook you because you're not presenting yourself in the workplace the way that you would want to, you would want to start doing little things, small things such as maybe standing up straight, smiling more, having conversations more. Small little things that can help you with the image. Remember, your whole entire image, your behavior, your communication, those are also big things that you can begin to work on. You know, asserting yourself a little bit into a conversation, voicing your opinion or your perspective at the table maybe if they're looking for a solution or a new product. You want to be able to do these small things, and these small things will lead to more opportunities, as I like to call them, and what I've learned definitely throughout the years. Now, when it comes to clothes, it can be something small. It could be jewelry. It could be hair. It could be the glasses that you wear. Sometimes those are conversation starters. And it also kind of helps you with getting comfortable with being seen a little more, because remember, if you have something on, say a nice piece of jewelry, somebody's going to say, oh my God, that's a beautiful piece. Where did you get it from? And now you'll be able to have a conversation and they will remember that. So you always want to kind of keep that in mind, is figure out and determine what your workplace image is currently and how you want it to be moving forward. And lastly, who is your target audience? Now you're probably thinking, well, Tiffany, I work in corporate America. I don't have an audience. You always have an audience. Everybody around you is part of your audience. However, who is your target audience? Whose attention are you trying to get? Where is it that you want to go? This is why goals are so important. When you're attaching your image to your goals, where is it that you want to go? Where do you see yourself in 2, 3, 4 to 5 years? Who are the decision makers in that area that you need to be able to get their attention through your personal image. And it all goes back to how you look, how you act, how you communicate. All of this, but where do you be? I also like to think and throw this out too. Look at the people in the positions that you want to be in. How do they look? How do they dress? How do they act? More so, how do they dress? How do they dress? How do they show up every day on a daily basis? And kind of take and get inspiration and a few pointers from them to kind of help guide you along the way. Because believe me, or believe it or not, your target audience is always watching. So if you want to be a director, who's that decision maker? Who do I need to get to know? And how can I use my image to position myself in such a way that they will take notice of me? So to recap today, number one, you want to be mindful of first impressions because you only get one time at a good first impression. Two, what are your industry conventions? You want to figure out what is that. You want to know, is it super stuffy and conservative? Is it lax? Is it creative? All of these different things. You want to always keep that in mind because that will also help and guide you along the way. Next, your workplace image. How do you currently look now, and how do you think you're perceived now? And how do you want to be perceived moving forward? This will also help with building that image that you want to have in the workplace. And last but not least, who is your target audience? Who are the decision makers that you need to get in front of? Who are the non-decision makers that you need to also gain the attention to? Here's the tip. Don't ever underestimate administrative assistants, executive assistants. I was one many moons, many years ago. And when they tell you that they are the gatekeepers and they watch everything, trust me when I tell you, I had a boss who asked me, we were having an interview for branch managers. And I went into his office and I said, hey, the candidate is here. And the first question he asked me is, how does he look? Is he dressed professionally? Yes, he's dressed professionally. So always be mindful of that because even if they don't, when they start to ask questions, other people will speak. So you always want to be mindful of your target audience, your main target audience, and then sometimes there's a sub-target audience as well. So hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you have any questions, please be sure to find me and DM me on Instagram. All of the information is in the description box below. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I will talk to you guys next week in the next episode. Bye, guys.